Hi, I'm Angela, the Christian Sexpert. Welcome back to my Patreon. I want to talk to you guys about the boundaries that you have in your bedroom, negotiating and trying new things. Now, you guys are here because you want a better sex life. Maybe you're looking for inspiration on ways to spice things up. Maybe you are looking for information on kink because there's nowhere else on the internet you can go for Christian information on kink. I don't know the specifics of why exactly you're here. What I do know is that sex is supposed to be mutually pleasurable. And sometimes there are things that can inhibit that mutual pleasure, whether that is trauma from our past, whether that's like purity culture or sexual abuse, or whether that's current physical disabilities, season of life. Maybe you're perimenopausal and things have changed down there. Maybe you are an older gentleman who is starting to experience erectile dysfunction issues, and maybe you're needing to redefine the role of sex in your marriage. There's a lot of things that can interrupt that mutual pleasure part of the equation. But I think that even with all of those things, one of the things that is imperative is that we come to the bedroom with an open mind. Now, if you are unfamiliar, I have a product called the Marriage Playdate. It is, I'll give you my little spiel on it. It's a date night experience designed to help you go deeper in your sexual intimacy. It's a list of over 500 activities. And the way that it works is you print 2 copies, one for you, one for them. You go through, you give everything a rating on a scale from, I'm not really interested in that, to, I think this sounds delightful. We should do it all the time. Let's go do it right now. The beauty of the Marriage Playdate is you're never going to wind up in some terrifying corner of Google trying to figure out if you're actually interested in an activity or not, because all the definitions are right there for you. After you've given everything a rating, you come back together, you compare notes, you see where you line up. Now you have this whole new library of things to enjoy, and you guys are already here on my Patreon, so I have videos on a lot of the things on the list so that you can say, well, I know what this is, I think I want to try it, but let's see if there's a video to teach us how to do it, right? And I think it's really important that, yes, we have hard limits in our lives, things that we are not going to do under any circumstances, and that's okay. But I think that if something is not a hard limit, we should be open to trying it, because we come to marriage, especially as Christians, especially if you were raised in purity culture, with a lot of preconceived and potentially toxic ideas about what sex and marriage is supposed to be. I get in arguments every week with people on the internet about sex toys. And if you're in my Patreon, you're probably pretty open to using them. But I realize that there's still a lot of people who are scared to use toys because of many reasons. And unfortunately, one of the biggest adversaries to toys are often men. And I think that's because there's a lot of reasons. One of them is the male identity is so wrapped up in their sexual performance because of modern American culture that a lot of men see sex toys, whether it's for him or for her, as a threat to his masculinity. Because, you know, your husband should be enough to satisfy you is one that I see a lot. And it's not that my husband isn't enough. It's that we enjoy things that his body can't physically do. His body can't go bzzz, right? Or like our bodies can't hold certain positions without the support of bondage. And it's not necessarily about like a power exchange, but like bondage helps put bodies into positions that they can't hold on their own. Things like that. And so going back to like male identity and toys, another reason that men are often not interested in toys is because of, especially in evangelical culture, the perception of, well, if I like a toy, I must be gay. That's not a thing at all. Enjoying the sensations that your body can achieve using an accessory or not does not make someone gay, especially if you're doing it with your wife. And my point is, if you have an issue with something that you see in my Patreon or something that I suggest or something that you see on the Marriage Playdate that your spouse is interested in, that you are not, what you need to do is to take a hard look at why you are not interested in it. Because it's one thing to not be interested in something simply because the idea of it is a sexual turnoff. But you need to examine your core beliefs. Is this like a purity culture hangover where, Christian, it's a sin to use sex toys? We know that's not true. Is this my ego is too wrapped up in my sexual performance and I see sex toys as a threat? Is it I'm scared of, turning gay if I use a sex toy? Right? We have to look at the underlying issues of why we're not interested in something. Like, there's a whole laundry list of things that I don't do in the bedroom that I'm not interested in because I have deeply ingrained sensory processing issues. My sensory issues got a lot worse after having my son, because my son has sensory processing disorder and he's sensory seeking, and he's just so much all the time that my nervous system broke. And so now I am like sensory avoidant on so many things, and things that I used to enjoy are no longer a thing that I want to do anymore because I'm so sensory avoidant now. And like, sensory reasons are a totally valid thing to be averse to things in the bedroom because of sensory. But then you also need to look at, are there ways that we can adapt this activity where we can still enjoy it, your sensory is accommodated, and we're both experiencing pleasure from it. And I'm doing this video because I had a comment about somebody's husband not wanting to use toys for himself, even though his wife has a disability. And I'm not intending this video to be a call out for this man specifically at all. And I don't want you to feel attacked or threatened or anything like that, because this is not a problem that is unique to this marriage. This is a problem that I see often with a lot of couples where more often than not, the man has an issue with toys, whether it's for his wife or for himself. And so I think part of the conversation when we're talking about going deeper in our sex life is really evaluating our belief system, the things that we believe about sex, the things that we believe about sex toys, and figuring out how they actually fit into our marriage, where the root cause of that belief system is, where it's coming from. Is it coming from a healthy place? Is it coming from a place that needs addressed to say, you know what, that's not actually a healthy belief system. I need to work on this to change my perspective. And the other thing is, if you guys are averse to trying something, but your wife or your husband is really into it, there's a couple of things. You can ask them, well, what is it about this that is appealing to you? Is it a sensation? Is it like the psychology of it? What is it about that it's appealing to you? And then you can talk about ways that you could potentially evoke the same feeling, play with the same psychological themes, things like that, without necessarily doing that specific act. And the other thing that you guys need to be doing is evaluating if the things that you are asking and desiring of your spouse is something that they are actually capable of delivering on. So the example is a person with physical limitations in their hand actually capable of doing a hand job without toys? Probably not. And so if you are wanting your spouse to do that, is that a reasonable request? Maybe, maybe not. And so really evaluating why you're asking that of them. Are they capable of doing it? Do modifications need to be made and tried? And the other thing, guys, you can order a sex toy, use it once, and decide you never want to use it again. I have a whole graveyard of things that have been purchased over 21 years that we used one time and said, well, that sucked. Yes, it is kind of a waste of money, but I view it as an investment in our marriage, because remember, we invest in the things that are important to us. We invest our time, our finances, our emotions, and having a good sex life does require some investment of time, finances. You guys are investing financially already by being here. But sometimes not every sex toy you order is going to work out. And unfortunately, there's not a resale market for them. But it's the experimentation. It's the journey. It's not necessarily the destination. You guys have heard me say it before. I recommend you try things twice. If you have something that is not a hard limit and your spouse is interested in experimenting with it, try it. Try it twice. Order a toy. The first time you play with a toy or a new position or a new act or whatever, you don't know how it's going to feel going into it. So you could be surprised. There could be user error. There could be performance issues. And so the first time isn't always a really good gauge of whether you're going to enjoy a thing or not. I suggest trying it a second time because now you should have a better understanding of how the thing works, how you're meant to use it, how you're meant to do it. And that second time is going to give you a better idea of if this is something that you want to add consistently to your repertoire. And so I recommend trying something twice. And if after the second time you still hate it, don't do it again. You don't have to do it again. Nobody's forcing you to do these things, but all of these things have to be in balance. What you want, what they want. Are they capable of doing what you want? Are you capable of doing what they want? Where are your belief systems coming from? Do you have feelings and limits and things that are based on a healthy outlook or a potentially not healthy outlook? All of these things are part of what makes a healthy sex life. And all of these things change and flex with seasons of life. Things that you might typically enjoy if you are postpartum, there's a good chance that you don't want to do it at all postpartum because that's the season of life. But once, baby's weaned, you may go back to enjoying it again. And so realizing that seasons change, this is not forever. Things may get better, things may get worse. You may need to add more supports and accommodations into your marriage in the future if you are living with a chronic disability. But looking for ways to accommodate all of these things is part of what makes a healthy sex life. Because the bottom line is you deserve to have good sex and you deserve to have healthy, wonderful belief systems about the sex in your marriage, because God wants us to have healthy sex lives and healthy views of sex. Go have good sex.